Here's the part that stays with you. An 18-year-old woman was trying to raise a little girl while expecting another baby. The man she was with was 11 years older, and the people closest to her say the relationship had already become unhealthy long before that final night. Then came the gunshots. 2 lives were lost, and one little girl was left behind asking questions no child should ever have to ask. So how did it get to this point? This is the story of Lemmarra Bradshaw. The people who loved her called her Myra. She was only 18 years old, but life had already asked a lot of her. She was raising her 4-year-old daughter while preparing to welcome another child. Family members described her as someone who loved deeply and cared about the people around her. She wasn't living a perfect life, but she was trying to build one. That matters because it's easy to look at a tragedy and only remember how it ended. It's harder to remember there was a young woman making plans for tomorrow, believing tomorrow would come. Somewhere along the way, Robert Tatum became part of that future. He was 29 years old. She was 18. Make it make sense. An 11-year age gap doesn't automatically tell you everything about a relationship, but it does tell you these were 2 people at very different stages of life. One had nearly another decade of adulthood behind him. The other was still learning how to navigate adulthood while raising a child of her own. As time passed, family members say they became increasingly concerned. According to those closest to Myra, jealousy became a regular part of the relationship. They described Robert as wanting to know where she was, who she spent time with, and what she was doing. They believed those behaviors grew more intense instead of fading with time. Relationships don't usually change overnight. Sometimes the biggest warning signs don't arrive all at once. They show up little by little until people start adjusting to things they never imagined accepting in the first place. For Myra, those closest to her believed that process had already begun. Then came an incident her family says they could not ignore. Roughly 2 weeks before the shooting, Myra's aunt said Robert punched her in the face. It wasn't a rumor circulating through the neighborhood. Her family says they knew about it, and they understood exactly how serious it was. If you've ever listened to survivors of abusive relationships, you'll hear a pattern repeated again and again. After violence often comes regret, then apologies, promises, assurances that it will never happen again. According to Myra's aunt, she returned to the relationship less than a day later. The aunt believed manipulation played a major role in that decision and described Robert as someone who was always in a jealous rage. Those are her family's words, not a conclusion reached by investigators. Anyways, here's the part people often oversimplify. It's easy for someone standing outside a relationship to ask, why didn't she leave? That question sounds simple. Real life rarely is. Myra wasn't making decisions for herself alone. She was already raising one child. She was pregnant with another. Leaving a relationship can mean finding somewhere to live, securing money, arranging childcare, protecting yourself, and starting over while carrying responsibilities that don't disappear just because you want a different future. None of that excuse is abuse, but it helps explain why leaving is often much harder than people imagine. As the weeks passed, the relationship continued. Then, just days before everything came to an end, another development quietly slipped into the background. Robert Tatum had already appeared in court on an assault case before returning to the same relationship. The legal process continued, but nothing physically separated the two. According to public reporting, less than a week later, another argument would begin inside a home on Langdon Street in Philadelphia. No one inside that house could have known those moments would become the center of a homicide investigation. But the events of that night were about to change several families forever. March 9 began like any other day. There was no public sign that this would become the last day of Myra Bradshaw's life. Somewhere inside the home on Langdon Street in Philadelphia, she and Robert Tatum were together. Before long, an argument broke out. What happened during those moments would become the center of the criminal case, but exactly how the confrontation began has been described differently depending on who was telling the story. Early reports from investigators indicated the dispute may have started over a hamster that had been bought for Myra's 4-year-old daughter. It was a small detail that quickly appeared in headlines because it sounded almost impossible to believe, but people closest to Myra said the real problems between the couple ran much deeper than any disagreement over a family pet. They believed the relationship had already been under intense strain long before that night. According to Myra's aunt, the argument centered on accusations that Robert had been unfaithful. She said Myra confronted him after learning about the alleged cheating. That account has been shared by family members, while investigators have not publicly confirmed it as the cause of the dispute. What is certain is that emotions inside the home continued to rise. Families often remember moments like these differently than police reports do. Investigators focus on physical evidence, Loved ones remember conversations, arguments, and the warning signs they believe led to the violence. Taken together, those pieces help paint a broader picture, even when every detail cannot be independently confirmed. At some point during the confrontation, a gun was fired. The shot struck Myra in the chest. Emergency responders rushed her to the hospital, but despite their efforts, doctors could not save her. She died from her injuries. Her unborn baby also died. In a matter of moments, 2 lives were lost, and a little girl was left without her mother.
The domestic dispute in Philadelphia's Ronhurst neighborhood that ended with an 18-year-old pregnant woman's death. Officers responded to an apartment complex along Langdon Street this past Monday. Investigators say the dispute all started over the family pet. Action News reporter Amanda Pitts spoke with the victim's family today, and she joins us live from Ronhurst with the latest. Amanda.
Yeah, Christy, Lemmarra Bradshaw was just 18 years old and pregnant at the time that she was killed. We spoke with her grieving mother and aunt today, who said she was a victim of domestic abuse.
My whole world is shattered right now.
It's been 4 days since Michelle Adecola's life forever changed. Lemmarra Bradshaw, known as Myra, her only daughter, was shot and killed Monday night, allegedly at the hands of her boyfriend.
She was carrying your baby. You should have more sympathy towards her. I don't understand that.
The family, not wanting to show their faces amid their grief, say the 18-year-old was pregnant with her second child when she was killed. Police say it happened on the 7000 block of Langdon Street in the Ronhurst section of Philadelphia. Police have charged 29-year-old Robert Tatum with voluntary manslaughter.
You tore my heart in pieces. You took something special away from me.
Investigators told Action News on Monday the shots were fired during an argument over a hamster, one that Adecola bought for her daughter last Saturday. But Bradshaw's aunt says the fight was over Tatum's infidelity.
He was cheating on her, and Myra is the kind of person she'll say, if you're going to do it, I'm going to do it too. He's always in a jealous rage.
Sources tell Action News that Tatum claimed Bradshaw came at him with a knife and screwdriver, and that's when he shot her. The family says he'd been violent with her in the past.
He punched her in her face like 2 weeks ago. And in less than 24 hours, Myra went back to him. He manipulated her.
The family is hopeful they'll get justice, but say they'll never feel closure.
I feel like I didn't protect her enough to let this man kill my daughter, and I wasn't there to help her. It makes me feel broken inside.
She's like an angel. She's irreplaceable.
Now again, Tatum is in custody. He's facing 2 counts of voluntary manslaughter. As for Bradshaw, she leaves behind a 4-year-old child. Live in Ronhurst tonight, Amanda Pitts, Channel 6, Action News. Christy?
Yeah, a lot to process there for that family. Amanda, thank you.
As officers secured the scene, Robert Tatum remained there. He was taken into custody, and investigators began trying to determine exactly what had happened inside the house. His explanation was immediate. According to police, Tatum claimed Myra attacked him with both a knife and a screwdriver. He said he fired the gun to protect himself, arguing that he acted in self-defense. That became the foundation of his account from the very beginning of the investigation. Detectives now had 2 very different pictures of the same night. On one side was Tatum's claim that he had no choice but to shoot. On the other were family members who believed the shooting was the tragic end of months of jealousy, control, and violence they said Myra had already endured. Those competing narratives would shape everything that followed. Meanwhile, investigators carefully processed the home. Every photograph, every statement, and every piece of physical evidence would become important as detectives worked to reconstruct the final minutes before the shooting. Publicly, authorities released only limited information about what they found, choosing not to reveal details that could affect the case as it moved through the courts. Outside the crime scene, the loss spread quickly through the community. Friends and relatives struggled to understand how someone they had spoken with only days earlier was suddenly gone. Many couldn't stop thinking about the warnings they believed had been there all along. Looking back, they saw a relationship marked by repeated conflict, one they wished had ended differently before anyone lost their life. For Myra's mother, the grief was impossible to put into words. She later spoke openly about the pain of losing her daughter and the guilt she carried, wondering if there was anything more she could have done. It is a feeling many families describe after domestic violence, even though responsibility belongs to the person accused of committing the crime, not to those left behind. As detectives continued gathering evidence, prosecutors faced an important decision. The charges they announced would immediately become one of the most talked about parts of the case, and they would leave many people asking whether the law reflected the full weight of what had happened. As investigators continued building the case, prosecutors announced the charges against Robert Tatum. He was charged with 2 counts of voluntary manslaughter, one count relating to Lemmarra Bradshaw and another relating to her unborn baby. Prosecutors also charged him with possessing an instrument of crime and recklessly endangering another person. Tatum had already told investigators he acted in self-defense, claiming Lemmarra came toward him with a knife and a screwdriver before he fired the gun. Those claims became part of the criminal case and had not been resolved in court at the time of the initial reporting. The charging decision immediately became a point of discussion. Some people expected murder charges. Others pointed out that charging decisions depend on the evidence available to prosecutors and the legal standards they believe they can prove in court. Those questions would ultimately be answered through the judicial process, not in news headlines. For Myra's family, however, legal terminology wasn't their first concern. They were grieving a daughter, a granddaughter, a niece, and a young mother whose future ended far too soon. Her mother, Michelle Adekola, spoke openly about the pain she was carrying. "I never expected this. I never knew I'd bury my daughter," she said. Then came another sentence that captured the weight so many parents carry after an unexpected loss. "I feel like I didn't protect her enough to let this man kill my daughter, and I wasn't there to help her. It makes me feel broken inside." There is no courtroom ruling that can erase words like those. There is no sentence that gives a family back the conversations they were supposed to have, the birthdays they expected to celebrate, or the milestones that will now only exist in photographs and memories. Lemmarra's death also left behind someone who will grow up carrying a loss she was too young to understand at the time, her 4-year-old daughter. While the criminal case moves through the courts, that little girl faces a future without her mother. For the people who loved Lemmarra, that reality may be the hardest part of all. The family has said they are now focused on honoring her life, supporting one another, and caring for the child she leaves behind. Stories like this often leave people searching for one moment that could have changed everything. Was it the first sign of controlling behavior? The first act of violence? The moment family members realized something wasn't right, no one can answer those questions with certainty. What we do know is that many domestic violence cases follow patterns that become clearer only after a tragedy has already happened. Family members in this case described warning signs they say they witnessed before the shooting, while investigators continue to focus on the evidence surrounding the events inside the home that night. Today, Lemmarra Bradshaw is remembered by the people who knew her not simply as a victim, but as a young woman with dreams, responsibilities, and a family who loved her deeply. Her unborn child lost the chance to experience life, and her daughter lost the chance to grow up with the mother who wanted to be there for her. As for Robert Tatum, the criminal case remains part of the legal system where prosecutors must prove their allegations and the defense has the opportunity to respond. Like every criminal defendant, he is presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty in court. If this story leaves you with anything, let it be this. Sometimes the most important details aren't found in the final moments of a case. They're found in the warning signs people later remember, the concerns loved ones wish had been taken more seriously, and the lives forever changed after violence enters a relationship. Thank you for watching Fable of Crime. If you believe telling these stories helps raise awareness about domestic violence and honors the victims whose voices were taken away, consider subscribing. We'll continue bringing you carefully researched, fact-based documentaries that remember the people behind the headlines.